Is there? Was those cars going past?
You can hear that?
Are those cars?
Yeah. What the fuck? How can you hear that? I can barely hear it. Oh god. Fucking hell, give me a sec.
Yeah.
Why did I turn the light off?
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Outback Gamehouse, Lord of the Rings, Heroes of Middle Earth. So this week there's a bit to cover. We've obviously had Chapter 3 that launched over the last week, and we've had a chance to um, try our hands at Chapter 3. There was also a Q&A session with Nick Reinhardt, the game director, and also we'll go over our account updates and a few other things that are happening in the game. So we'll start with Chapter 3.
Yes.
That felt like, in terms of design, obviously, aesthetics wise, wave wise, it was a copy of Chapter 1 in the
Hmm.
sense that we're dealing with, the same wave, so to speak, of orcs and stuff like that. But in terms of mechanics, that was a lot better than Chapter 1.
Yes.
There's obviously different tactics in play because Chapter 3 is you're not scored points on how much damage you do or if you kill any enemies or anything like that. It's all about, I guess, how many turns you're taking. Um, so it's different. It's a different tactic altogether
Yeah.
in comparison to the other two chapters. I kind of liked it in the sense that it was a bit different in that sense.
I like the fact that it encourages you to build a different variety of characters instead of just like build up your damage characters and pretty much only those and keep your healers and supports to a minimum because they're not too impactful usually. Main
Hmm.
supports are up it. But yeah, this really encourages like building those up as well, which I like.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see which teams or characters were doing well. The likes of Naramiri were starting to come to light in
Mm,
terms of usefulness and stuff like that. I mean, she was good in the other chapters, like Chapter 1.
yeah,
People have done well with her, but definitely here that you could see the benefit of building her up.
yep,
Um, and yeah, even certain other characters that could do cleanse or taunt provoke, heals and stuff like that. But
mm,
yeah, and it was interesting where I guess in terms of points and the way the points work, as long as your team can take a turn, you score points, right? So
yeah,
in many instances, and in I don't think there are any instances where you shouldn't, but I found, teams that were probably difficulty 1 or 2 in Chapter 1, like, weaker teams that I was using in those difficulties. I found just running in Chapter 3 was far better. Because
yeah,
as long as they can take their first turn, you score much more points in Chapter 3 than
yeah,
you would, trying to grind through Chapter 1. Sorry, in difficulty 3 than you would if you were trying to grind through difficulty 1 or 2, and trying to get those 100k points in difficulty 1 or 300k points in difficulty 2.
yeah,
Just taking a single turn was enough to do that in
yeah,
difficulty 3,
100%,
and
yeah,
it just alleviated a lot of the grind and pressure with those weaker teams.
pretty much. Yeah, I found that my Raj room, they were only getting like in difficulty 1, it'd be like 20k per turn. It's just like, well, I'm just gonna I'll just try on difficulty 3 and it's like 132k. It's like, well, that's a clear win.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you would, if they were a difficulty 1 team for you, the max you would have got is 100k,
Yeah.
and that would have required, multiple turns, making sure things went well and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You just needed a quick turn,
Pretty
and you've
much.
got that in difficulty 3. There's really no other reason
Mm.
to run
Whether
any
this is
lower
by
difficulty.
design or not, though, that's the different question.
Probably not. There's been rumors, and by rumors, purely speculation by the community, just because of that and how easy it is to gain points with
Yeah.
lower teams. There's been speculations that they may tweak it,
Mm. I
but
was going
who
to say,
knows?
how do you fix that, really?
So, to be honest, I don't think they can fix the mechanics as such. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is. I think the only way they could tweak it in any way is to adjust the points earned so
Mm.
that if you do manage to survive 1 turn, that it'd be less than what you would if you struggled through the lower tier difficulty kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening. People are just skipping the difficulty, and just trying to get those quick points. But if you look at the points gained in difficulty 4, for instance, and I tried difficulty 4,
Mm.
and you weren't gaining as many points to justify jumping up to difficulty 4. So if they
Right.
did this, if they made the similar kind of thought
Yeah.
process for the other difficulties,
Yeah.
that would, technically speaking, stop people from doing the harder difficulty. I'd say
Yeah.
that's probably, if they were going to do it, that would probably how they would address that. Addressing it any other way would be completely changing the mechanics, or
Yeah.
doing any other thing. So,
Yeah. I doubt that's what they want to do when they literally just released it.
but to be honest, I hope they don't. I hope they just keep it, considering how much angst Chapter 1 has caused. I
Yeah.
think it's good, like for them, like some sort of goodwill, some sort of positivity in having a chapter where people aren't stressed.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
as we'll get on a bit later, but in the Q&A, they said they have the means to bump up the difficulty if they really want to, but like they can just save that for the difficulty 4 and 5. So
yeah,
I have a feeling they won't change it, or at least not immediately.
yeah,
Um, I think they at least want to get chapter 4 out first, by at least. So
yeah. I don't see why they would. It's not causing any huge, gains or stuff for them. So
yeah.
I'd say they'd probably leave it, to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah, and the the other thing is, chapter in terms of points, people weren't scoring huge amount of points. It was roughly on par, looking at what people, not just in our guild, but other guilds, in generally speaking, they were gaining probably about the same amount of points as chapter 1, maybe
Yeah.
slightly less.
Yeah.
There's obviously a dip in points in chapter 2, but chapter 3 and 1 seemed about comparable. The other thing is with chapter 3, I think there's an easy entry into it in terms of gaining points.
Yeah.
But future wise, I don't think people, to gain more points in the future,
It's
I
going to be
think
harder.
it's going to
Yeah.
be harder. So I think if you kind of draw a graph, I guess people will gain points quickly, but then it will start
It's going to
plateauing.
have a really, yeah, I was good, or even a drop off. Yeah.
So I don't think I think it's fine. in the longevity of it. I think it's fine as it is, to be honest.
I
Uh,
think it in another way it could be on purpose to get guilds to boost guilds up that 17 million points to get into chapter 4, which I think it was 17 million from chapter 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. You
hmm,
need 17 million. So I'm assuming it's going to be the same as 4. It could be to get guilds to see chapter 4 as well.
that's true. Yeah, because each they have a cutoff for each chapter before you can
Mm.
unlock the next. So yeah, you wouldn't want to block a lot of the low alliances or guilds, sorry, to have entry into chapter 4.
Yeah. Especially when that's like the big like selling point of the Mines Moria was like the Balrog. That's like the big final boss.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I do wonder how that chapter 4 is going to be implemented and what the mechanics are for it. Obviously, we had a preview a
mm.
few weeks ago with the road ahead look, which gave some artwork and stuff like that, so you can kind of guess what it could be and stuff like that. But um, hopefully, it's going to be a lot different to chapter 2. Obviously, it's going to be single target like chapter 2 is. Uh,
Yeah.
to be honest, I think chapter 4 is going to be quite hard based on the fact that it looks like it has different
Yeah.
stages,
Phases, yeah. Stuff like
phases.
that.
But I'm wondering whether those phases are kind of like with chapter 2, where you topple
Mm.
the troll in chapter 2 and then he gets back up, kind of thing. Wonder if it's kind of similar where with Balrog you kind of
Yeah, you go
stagger him
between
or
the
something, and
yeah.
then in the second phase he's got the flame
Mm.
kind of thing, and then the third phase he's the shadowy kind of look.
Could be, yeah. I don't know. I feel like they'd make it a bit different at least.
Oh yeah, well that's what I'm getting at. I hope there's some sort of difference in each of the
Mm.
chapters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, while we've spoken about the Q&A briefly, so I think we'll jump straight into that.
Yes.
Um, so I'll be honest, I didn't fully watch the Q&A myself. I do plan to get around to that. It was a lengthy
It was
video.
yeah,
I
it's
think it
about
was
an hour
roughly about
long.
an hour or something like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, the stuff that Nick's sent in the past instead of the blog in terms of the blogs and stuff like that, you can tell he's really keen on making sure this game
Mm.
is delivered well, and um, he addresses everything the fans want and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess I first started off with the what if, what kind of first what ifs could come to the game, and they
Yeah,
spoke.
I think um they said that it's you kind of already got a brief glimpse of it with the cutscenes in the raid where Gandalf goes and follows that shadowy figure. So that's kind of a bit of a glimpse into it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, he said that from my understanding, he was alluding to what if Balin like actually took over the Mines of Moria and all that, and they didn't go like too deep and awaken the Balrog and all that, which is very interesting to think about.
Yeah, well, I think the whole what if thing I'm kind of keen on. I think it
Mm,
kind of opens the door a bit for them to kind of just unleash and try something different,
yeah,
like this, for instance. So yeah, hopefully wait and see what they do with that.
yeah. They
Sec-
also made a big can't think of the word. They said that they want to stay true to the characters and the lore, obviously, of Lord of the Rings and Middle Earth
hmm.
without going like too crazy at first. They said that they'll probably just change like maybe one, two things at most at first, and then later on they'll start getting a bit more like three things, four things, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it gives them endless kind of stuff
Yeah,
to deal with.
yeah,
The second topic, which is probably the
the
one of the
big
big
one.
ones, a lot of people are looking to see how that's done, is the glyphs. So, community wise, it's people are kind of still unsure how that's going to be because, there's two games that in general people are kind of leaning towards in terms of how the similar systems have been implemented. One being Star Wars Galaxy of Hero, obviously, which this game generally uses, being the same developer, and then the other one being MSF as well. Uh, so they hinted at unique items, so Gimli's axe, Gandalf's staff, and other such items, rather than say, specific, um, general items like holding gems and stuff like that.
Yeah, I believe
Uh,
what he specifically said is he said, "What if they had like the black speech on Gimli's axe, for example?" He said,
mm,
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he said. He said he wants to play around with the idea of that, basically with glyphs.
yeah, okay, yeah. So with the glyphs, you know, it's going to have a primary stat and secondary stats with narrow ranges. Um, it's not about running away with stats, but tweaking, say, turn autos and focusing on playstyle and stuff like that. So, some of the examples, at the end of a character's turn, maybe you get X% chance to gain a stamina randomly, or um, gain X turn meter but lose some speed or something like that.
Yeah,
Or you start with unbreakable when used and then gain might and advantage for one turn.
yeah,
So different things like that in terms of mechanics and stat changes and stuff like that.
yeah. It does. It sounds. It's hard to explain. In Galaxy of Heroes, they have mods which are pretty much just stats, pretty much only stats.
Hmm.
And you have set bonuses. So if you match two of the same type of mods, you'll get more of that stat essentially.
Hmm.
um, with this, they said that they want the stat bonuses to be one of those effects of the like the stamina, the turn meter, but lose speed. They said that they want to do that instead of just give X% offense because it's boring.
Yeah.
Um, I find it interesting because it's kind of mixing Galaxy of Heroes but MSF mods in a way. So I think it could be. It sounds interesting. I need to see it first, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can see where you could see similarities with the MSF
Yeah,
ISO system. Still don't see it much like that, to be honest. I can see the Star Wars Galaxy of Hero mod system in it.
yeah,
Because even with the ISO system in MSF, it's, there's 5 slots, and each ISO gives a standard stat boost.
yeah.
Then you have ISO classes, which again give specific kind of bonuses.
Mm,
So it's kind of similar to that, I guess, with the ISO classes, where
yeah.
you could,
Striker and all that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, or you could have a support class that does extra healing and stuff like that. And I get, yeah, I could see it being a hybrid between the two games.
mm.
But
I think if they do it right, it can be very good. To be honest, it's just
yeah,
getting it right.
yeah, well, that's the key thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, so they mentioned there's 6 slots. So the
Mm,
primary stats are going to be constrained, but then the secondaries can vary and it can include speed.
yeah.
But
That's yeah.
did mention won't have a major bump in stats. Won't be massive. Just if there is speed, it'll just be kind of slightly tweaking the turn order,
Mm,
which is, I think it speed's one of those things. Yeah, you got to see how much they're giving out to kind of see whether it's going to be critical or not. If it's
Yeah.
very minor, then maybe, it's one of those stats where you could kind of do without and go focus on something that's specific for that character or
Yeah.
team. Um, but if they're giving out so much speed that it doesn't matter, because it's a turn-based game, and the more turns you can take,
Mm.
is going to be better.
Yeah.
If you're gaining so much speed that all the others are negligible, then that's a worry. But
Yeah. That's the problem with Galaxy of Heroes. Is just that it's just stack speed and you win most of the
well,
time.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
turn-based game. But it'd be interesting to see if you can kind of um, unslot and slot kind of glyphs as you need them, kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
where my mind's going is, I just have a stack of speed glyphs, right? And
Mm.
when it comes to chapter 3, I just slot them in, get my turns, get easy points.
That's what a lot of people do on Galaxy of Heroes. Actually, yeah, Galaxy of Heroes. The mod system in that is you can just swap around mods on characters all the time. It's not like MSF where you kind of locked into that one thing. Any mod can be used on any character.
Hmm.
Um, but that's also one of the problems with it is it's extremely, or it can be extremely micro managing heavy.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's going to come down to how much you want to,
yeah,
right?
you want
Like,
to, yeah,
that you're not being if you're
forced
trying
to,
to
but
if you're
yeah,
trying to if you're trying to min max, and if you're trying to gain the most possible, then you're going to. But
yeah,
that's because that's your play style and you want to do that.
yeah,
You
exactly,
know, uh, it's not something that's necessary. So casual players don't need to go into that depth of
yeah,
working out what ISO they need in a specific particular situation, and figuring out, okay, I'm going to put this on this guy for this fight, and then I'm going to onslaught.
yeah.
How you want to manage it is going to be based on your play style, I guess.
So that's the thing I love about mods is I can put in the time, and because I've put in so much time into it, my characters will just be so much better than others.
Mm.
But yeah, it's the same thing as like if you don't want to, you shouldn't be punished for it if you don't. And that's the bad thing about Galaxy of Heroes is you are severely punished for it. So um I I I'm interested to see the speed. I think it sounds like it's gonna have some sort of like cap essentially,
Mm.
or some sort of restriction, which I think would probably be the best way to go about it is if it's so easy to like get the speed and it just caps, then it's not really going to matter that much.
Yeah.
If because everyone will just have the kind of same amount of speed. It will be just kind of manipulating your team's turn order,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is what I think they want to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah, which is what he was alluding to.
Yeah.
The only other thing was the release date.
Mm.
That he suggested probably 2023, might
Yeah.
be early 24.
Yeah.
In terms of level requirement, he indicated maybe level 25,
Yeah.
but it will be throttled by gear level as well.
Yes. Which, yeah, they don't have that in Galaxy of Heroes, so that's interesting.
Yeah, again, we'll need to see once it's implemented or once we get more information on what
Yeah.
those requirements will be.
Yeah. Nothing's set in stone yet, but it's kind of just rough outline.
Yeah, was it? I don't believe there was anything else that he mentioned about glyphs in that interview.
Uh, Not that I can remember, no. I don't think so.
Um,
I'm missing one huge thing. Of course I will be.
oh, if it comes to us later, we'll talk about it. PvP, so should be 5v5 unless something crazy happens. It's going to be solo, not guild based. They're hoping to replace squad PvP with this PvP.
Yeah,
Probably change shards to leagues and still can have collusion and daily fights.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds like Cosmic Crucible or GAC.
pretty much. It sounds like they're basically just going to expand Squad Arena, which to GAC essentially. Well, yeah, Cosmic Crucible. Yeah, I don't know if I like that you can't scout beforehand. Um, I kind of don't, but at the same time, I know why they're doing it. Um, in Galaxy of Heroes, you have a day where you set your defenses, and then the next day you set your you attack. Usually, people sometimes scout the other players like roster and everything to make like a best attack plan, but it's
Hmm.
such a like a minuscule amount of the community that does it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Um,
Cosmic Crucible sounds a bit different where it's league based.
yeah,
So where they mention on this, it's going to be league based. So it's
yeah,
similar to Cosmic Crucible where everyone's just in one big shard, but they're split by leagues.
yeah. That's how
Which
GAC is. Yeah.
okay, well, I kind of like that system
Mm.
versus shard systems and stuff like that.
Shards
Um,
seem very outdated now.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, but in terms of uh, for Cosmic Crucible, you're in leagues, and then for that week, you're put into a pool of 8 players
Mhm.
that you go up against. And each day, you're up against a player, and then if you win or lose, you then, go into a different branch kind of thing.
Yep.
So, if the 4 winners from round one, they go into the next one, and then
Yeah.
it's like two different fights there, kind of thing,
Yeah.
and
Like a
then
tournament system. Yeah.
a tournament system. Yeah, yeah, just said that, um, but in that sense, you're predetermined. Sorry, not predetermined, but you can't scout who you want to fight. But that's what GAC sounds like. I'm not too sure.
No,
Scout.
so who you fight, it's exactly like the way you just said. You are just put up against an opponent out of a pool of, I believe, 6,
Hmm.
or 5. Yeah. But each day or each new opponent, you have the day to set your defenses. And you can also, when I say scout, I mean you can, because Galaxy of Heroes has API, you can look at their entire roster and make a plan based on that of how you want to set your defenses, what you want to save for offense, and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you can see pretty much their entire roster as if you're looking at your own. That's how. Yeah, API. It's amazing. We
Yeah.
need
Well,
it.
obviously in MSF we don't have that level of
Yeah,
insight. You can kind of click on the people that are in your weekly ladder,
yeah,
and see what their powers, roster power is, but you can't see their individual characters and
right.
what
Yeah,
they're at. And then you've got to set your defenses a day before your actual fight. Um,
yeah. That's what you got to do too.
yeah. Yeah.
You
So it'll
you
probably
can
be,
set it. You can set a permanent defense, like just forever, but you can also tweak that defense for each opponent.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, same. I mean, as in, you can set a defense and then you can just leave it if you want and it'll just
yeah,
stay, or you've got the opportunity to tweak it before
yeah.
each fight. Um,
As
but
I
yeah.
said, it's such a minuscule amount of people that actually do scout and take GAC that seriously. It's like the very top end.
Mm.
So I understand why they don't particularly care to implement it, but it would be nice to have at least the option.
I
because
I'm gonna
personally, that's
say
what I love doing. Like, it's
I,
just
I'm
it's fun.
I I'm gonna put this out there. Coming from MSF, kind of glad they don't have the function that I can go and check out other players' rosters
Yeah,
in depth because I will, and that'll
yeah,
waste half my day
yeah,
just looking at it and just going, wow, what the fuck.
yeah.
But
Pretty much. Yeah, it is a bit like that sometimes.
I I kind of like the surprise in a way.
Mm,
I yeah, I would prefer that they didn't have that option or the API capability where you could kind of
yeah,
just go and check everyone's rosters to the nth degree and stuff like that and see what they're doing.
yeah. You can check. You can literally check how much speed they have on each mod as well. You can see all their ability
Yeah,
levels and stuff like that. It's pretty insane.
I mean it comes a point where
That's too much. Yeah,
it's too much, and I think
yeah,
that's too much to be honest.
yeah. I,
Um,
as I said, I understand why they haven't implemented it, but it's nice to have the option. I guess that's just how I look at it.
yeah, well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
They did. We spoke about chapter one, and they did speak about chapter one in that interview.
Mm.
He mentioned there's a fix coming eventually. One possibility being 5 stacks instead of 10 stacks, which but we spoke about in a previous podcast where that's an easy fix. Where if they just reduce the amount of stacks,
Yeah.
another possibility being the orc tank has a provoke instead of a taunt, which
It's,
means
that would be so much better.
you don't need to try cleanse him or kill him.
Yeah.
You just need to hit him once. Especially when you get a field of tanks,
Yeah.
that's frustrating because you don't have 5 cleansers. I don't think
Yeah.
there are five.
Yeah.
Sorry, not cleansers, but
Yeah. I get what you mean.
boon removals.
Mm.
You just don't. There isn't that many
Yeah.
characters that can do it. So if you get that many orc guards, good luck.
Yeah. You're screwed.
Whereas if it's a provoke, that's so much easier to deal with. You just do one AoE
Yeah.
and all the provokes are gone.
Just
And
the
then,
helicopter, and you're like,
oh
I can attack the bomber again.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that would be a good fix as well.
Yeah.
There's a few. It's just that chapter just has so many things that goes against you.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so frustrating. If it was one little thing, you can kind of try to focus on that and try deal with that. But
Mm.
what? It's so hard to deal with anything because you try deal with the bombers RNG, but then you've got 5 guards to deal with as well.
Yeah.
There's just so
Skull
many factors.
crushes. Yeah. Yeah.
There's just so many factors going on, and that's what makes it so frustrating.
Mm. I mean, even in chapter 2, it's got a bit RNG when you knock down the troll,
Hmm.
and it
You
has
might get a guard.
yeah,
You might get a skull crusher.
yeah, it's still annoying to deal with, but it's definitely not like, I have to restart this run now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's how
but
they need to.
but even if you do, here's the thing. But even if you do have to restart it in chapter two because you get a guard and you can't
Yeah.
remove the rest of the troll's health in time because you got to deal with a taunt,
Mm.
you can restart, and the next attempt you'll get back to that same spot. You know, like
Yeah.
if I do get a guard in chapter two, and I'm like, oh crap, I got to restart. I'm not worried that I won't be able to get to that same spot in the next attempt because in chapter two, at least everything's fairly consistent up to
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So you're not losing. Whereas in chapter one, say I get to 600k or 700k with the elves, and then that final wave attempt where you need to kill to get that 900k,
Mm,
and you get like the worst wave roll possible,
that
then you're
always
like,
happens to me.
then you're like, oh my god, do I keep this attempt or do I
Yeah.
try again? Because you don't know whether you can get back to that spot.
Yeah. Oh, that was me this week. I was fuming this week. I was just not having a good day. It was just one thing after another. And by the time I got to raid, I was just ready to throw my phone. I was so mad.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, as in chapter two, yeah, it has the RNG, but it has much more consistency. You don't get as many points, but that's fine. I
Yeah.
know I will topple the troll with my elves on that first wave every single
Yeah.
time because that's just
Exactly.
how it is. The second wave, then it gets a bit harder, and
Yeah.
that's a bit of if and but. But I know if I build my team more and stuff like that, I've got a better chance.
Yeah.
Or if I build different characters, which I did,
Mm.
I went with the Legolas route, and I ended up getting him toppled the second time because I found
Yeah.
it a lot easier that way. I know if I make changes in the right direction, I can improve in chapter two,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everything else
Exactly.
is consistent. Whereas in chapter one, I can build my team up to level 60, G 9, 10, whatever it may be, 66666, and get a worse score, you know?
Yeah. Pretty much. That's the thing with chapter two is you can feel the progression of your teams, and that's it. It just it feels good. Like you feel you're actually making progress.
Exactly. Especially when resources so scarce.
Mm.
When you spend it on a team or a character, and then you come into the raid and you perform worse, is a big slap on the face. When
Yeah.
if you're making, minor, even if it's minor, but if you're making improvements in raids by building your team, then you feel like you've achieved something. You feel like you've done what you set to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like backward progression or negative progression, it, it's just demoralizing.
It hurts. It's actual
Yeah.
pain.
So hopefully those changes do come soon.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll have to see. So another factor they went into, which kind of ties in slightly with the what ifs, is the future characters and lore. So apparently they've got a 5-year plan already set in place, so they already know what they're releasing for the next 5 years.
Yeah. Well, you said roughly. Yeah.
Yeah. Leading up to big events, like King Aragon and stuff like that.
Yes.
And then also mentioned other game activities coming. Uh, you know, what will happen after, but it'll happen after Balrog and the glyphs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
yeah,
That they actually mentioned that. I don't know if you remember there's a few podcasts ago that we mentioned in the beta that you had like that weekly guild achievements or missions kind of thing.
hmm,
They said that
yeah,
they put that on the back pedal because they wanted to get the foundation down of the raid and everything else before they basically built the walls.
right.
So, yeah, they said they just put it on the back burner for now, but it is something that they're probably going to re-implement.
I mean, it was working in the beta. It was,
Yeah.
it honestly just feels like a click of a button, and then they can implement that. But no,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Hopefully that comes out, because that'll, people will be able to gain extra resources through doing
Yeah.
milestones and stuff like that.
Mm. And I'm
Uh,
excited for the legendary events and everything because the events in Galaxy of Heroes are just superior than MSF. They just are. They actually make sense where you actually have to build characters that make sense for that character to unlock him.
hmm,
Like the other day, I unlocked episode 6, Luke, and basically the whole legendary event was playing with the characters and playing through the movie of episode 5. So it's just I don't know, it just feels better. It just makes sense rather than just Wakandans unlock Spider-Man. Well, Spider-Man unlock Wakandans, whatever.
Yeah, MSF, they basically just look at data and go,
Yeah, slap it together, she'll be right.
people haven't been building these 5 characters. That's what's required,
Yeah.
or stuff like that. Although now it's pretty much gone the way of each new team unlocks the next legendary kind of thing. So
I mean, that's how it is.
nothing's skippable kind of in
Yeah,
MSF anymore.
you kind of get to the point eventually with these type of games where it's just going to be like that, because it's like that in Galaxy of Heroes as well. I think it's just age of the
Yeah,
game.
yeah. Uh, cadence of marquees. So that Nick mentioned they're testing the waters. They're not quite set as far as pacing,
Yes.
and they're not quite committed, so to speak. So they're seeing what works in terms of, what they're probably seeing how much money they can make. But um, this month has been interesting. This is because obviously we've had 3 marquees for this month. This is pretty expensive. But yeah, even previous months, I still felt fast, to be honest.
They have, yeah.
And by the sounds of it, they Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes don't do any other release methods. It's all
Uh,
marquees and stuff like that. Oh, we got a raid character, in Lord of the
yeah,
Rings with Gandalf, but
they have raid characters, they have territory battle characters, they have what else? Not when I was playing, but you have to unlock like Malik and all that through the guild event store, which is just a weird thing. But that's also kind of a legendary event as well, so it's
yeah,
weird.
like I as much as I didn't go after RTR in the first instance, I am now. They could do release a character like Sam,
Yeah,
where release 5 characters and then just go, here's the 5th one that's in a long-term kind of event that's just sitting
yeah.
there.
I believe he did say something like that. He said that if they were going to do that type of event again, that it would be reworked. So he said they've not. He said that it takes too long to get the character at max stars. Essentially, he said they want it to be a journey where like you get him over time, but it's taking too long at the moment. So
to get Sam to 7 stars. Well, I mean, because you got to build 4 characters to 7 stars, and
yeah,
that doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have Sam at 7 stars yet, but I don't mind the pace. Like, not everything needs to be 7-star obtainable.
I don't think the pace
at the
was
straight
too
away.
bad
And
either,
like,
to be honest.
and if you wanted, you can whale for it and get refresh nodes and get characters up to 7 stars.
Yeah.
That are needed for Sam. So I didn't mind it too much. But if they think it's too slow, then all the better for us, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
Raid key tracking. That's going to happen eventually. Not too concerned about it. It's only 9 keys per day per person.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'd be nice to see, I guess, for casual alliances where they're losing keys and stuff like that. You would hope and you would think for a competitive alliance, everyone's on
everyone's
daily.
doing it.
If they're not, that they're not at the level they need to be, basically. Yeah. But Elrond ETA, he couldn't tell whether it's sooner or later. He was kind of silent on that. He did say, though, that Legolas can be used to unlock Elrond if he does come for another round.
And all future elves as well.
Yeah, well, he didn't mention that, but HoME on the Discord server elaborated and mentioned that will also include any future elves as well.
Yeah.
So anyone that has the elf tag whenever Elrond comes around will be able to be used to unlock him or gain further stars for him. So that's good. Because people were unsure because they said elves, but then they specified particular
Yeah.
elves in that blog post. And I think they were just saying that because they were just a list of elves at that time.
Yeah.
So
So it's good to nice. It's nice to have the clarity now. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm keen to build Legolas. I already have in terms of level and abilities over Lomion. I just need him to go into a node, I guess. Which hopefully is going to be soon, because I
Hopefully.
believe he was a third marquee,
He
right?
was the
He was,
third, yeah.
yeah. So he's next in line. Um,
I'm assuming within probably the next week or two, to be honest.
well, Arwen and Elrond, Elladan happened fairly like one after the other. But then Elladan to Legolas had a bit of a break, I believe.
I don't think it was that long, was it?
It wasn't
Oh,
the same.
actually, no, it was. It was a good like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same kind of gap between Arwen and
Yeah.
Elladan. So I don't think it'll be next week,
Mm.
but
Maybe the
maybe
week after or after that. Yeah.
maybe end of September, early October. I would
Yeah.
have a
That makes
guess
sense.
at.
Yeah.
Confirmation button to submit raid scores. Now this, I mean, I haven't done it where I've accidentally submitted a low score. I've come close. I will
I've
admit.
nearly done
I've
it.
like because when you're playing on mobile, at least you've got
Yeah.
a thumb on each side, and you press, and that your right thumb is right near that
Yeah.
submit button. Especially when you've done in chapter one 100 attempts and just like
Yeah. That's the part where I'm getting like sloppy with it is once I've done like 20 runs, I nearly do misclick it.
yeah, it's frustrating. So I can understand when people do press it. It's annoying,
Yeah.
um, but I do get how it can happen.
Yeah.
Uh, he didn't. It sounded like he wasn't aware of that issue. In his response, he just said he'll take that into consideration.
Yeah. Which
Uh,
surprising.
mm, it was a bit surprising, but
Yes.
it's an easy fix. I mean, they could easily just, or even move. I suggested moving it, but confirmation is also an easy fix, or just moving it away from the bottom.
Yeah.
Not making it bright yellow and inviting would be also be useful.
That's the thing that gets me. It's like, oh, a pretty color. Click.
Why is there two cancel buttons? I get it. One, you cancel and you go back to the character select screen and you can go back
Yeah.
into it. And the other one takes you back to the raid homepage. I get it, but do you really need those two options?
I
Like, couldn't you just
think so.
cancel and just go back to the character select screen? And if you do
Yeah.
want to go back, you can press back or home or whatever.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Doesn't really
They
need
have
two
that in
buttons for
Galaxy of
that.
Heroes as well, and it's just like, is this necessary? Like, should just be a cancel submit, but oh.
Some of the logic in this game is a bit iffy,
Yes.
but uh the final thing also in relation to future characters and stuff like that, light side large characters. Now, we spoke about it in one of the previous podcasts, what kind of options there are in the Lord of the Rings lore in terms of
Yes.
large characters. um he mentioned there's actually a couple of large ones actually coming out soonish,
Mm.
which will nest into another faction. So it sounds like a new faction that's coming out.
I don't know if no, because they have brute. I was gonna say I don't know if a new faction, but I was gonna say the Misty Mountain Orcs, they don't have a large character, but they have brute.
Hmm,
So
yeah, they have Brute, and then Mordor has
Oh, not ugly. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with me today?
Ironhide. Yeah.
Ah,
So from what I gathered, there's probably um, a new faction, or,
yeah.
or or an existing faction that doesn't have a large character. I'm not quite sure what he meant.
Isengard, maybe? They could get a Wargride for Isengard, maybe. That could
hmm,
be technically counted as a large character.
yeah, or if they wanted to bring out Oliphants, oh no, they would have been Haradrim, wouldn't they?
Well, there's no, there's no like stopping them, I guess.
But I mean,
That'd be
yeah.
cool. It's
Um,
like, oh shit. Well, now my entire screen is just taken up by an elephant foot.
be interesting to see what kind of large
Hmm.
characters they bring out.
Olifants would be a cool raid, though.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so they're waiting on, the likes of Ents or Eagles until there's a slot for them to fit in. Um, so yeah, there will be, I guess, light side large characters at some point. It
Yeah,
needs to be at the right time, I guess.
yeah,
Uh,
makes sense.
I think that was pretty much the interview wrapped up as a summary. I think there was anything that we missed.
Um, I think for the what if characters, he said that they want to focus more on. He said if they did like Dark Lady Galadriel, where like she took the ring or something like that, they would want to explore the ripple effects of that and how other characters and just in general the world would be affected by that decision,
hmm,
and pretty much make characters around that as well. So that's interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
No, like I said, I am interested to see what they do with the what ifs.
yeah.
Yeah, as a Lord of the Rings fan, it's good to see the books, translated into a game, but it's nice to see things that you don't expect as well every now
Hmm.
and then. So,
Yeah.
um, I guess we'll end it how we normally end it with an account update. I, as I mentioned for myself, for my Rivendell team, I actually started building Legolas up
Hmm.
as my fifth person. I still use, in chapter 3, I use Naramiri, and she does really well there. I got 900k on my difficulty 3 on that chapter with her. Um, but
That was
for
spicy when you messaged me. It's like, oh no.
oh, I was pretty pleased with that. You do need a few things to go your way on that fight with chapter 3, but once you do, it's pretty smooth sailing. But for chapter 2, I was hitting a wall where I just couldn't get the troll down for the second topple.
Hmm.
Um, I tried various combinations and I went with Legless, and I could see I did improve, where I was like getting him just close enough before he, wipes my whole team with a rock slide. Um, and yeah, we're getting Legolas's passive to level 6 was pretty critical in that. But yeah, I built up Legolas to level 60. I think he's gear 7 at the moment. I will probably bump him to gear 8. But yeah, level 60, and then most of his abilities at level 4. I did build his leadership up. I wanted to try whether him being a leader would go better.
Yeah.
I didn't see too much difference. I think in the long run, just having those extra survivability through Elrond's leadership just
Yeah.
took it for me. Obviously, having Legolas was more an offensive option, which helped as well. But if you do get a rock slide, it's all about rebounding back from that. And I think
Yeah.
having Elrond's leadership just took the cake on that. So that's what I was building mostly on the light side. I haven't built Gondor up yet because, well, we did forget to mention. Oh, I forgot to mention. I, based on the chapter 3 mechanics, I can see Gondor being actually
Yeah,
useful.
really good. Yeah.
Unlike Haradrim for chapter 2, I think they've probably done the right thing with, at least on paper, at least for Gondor with chapter 3. If with, um, with Donathor giving out
Yeah, the
immunity
block. Yeah. Yeah, the
and
block and
block
immunity.
chance, that's going to be key, if
Yeah.
because that's what did it for my elves. If I got the immunity on Eladin,
Yeah. He can just
it's
take up
just
so many. Yeah.
it's just like bring it on
Yeah.
because he's helicoptering, he's keeping that taunt. Meanwhile, Elrond's extending the immunity, and
Yep.
it's just like try capture me, baby.
Pretty
You
much.
know?
Uh,
So uh that was critical with the elves getting that, and then you just smooth sailing from that point on. And
yes.
so with immunity being such a critical aspect, and all they need is we were worried about the heals
Mm,
for them. You don't need heals if they got immunity and if they got cleanse. That's all they need.
yeah.
So I could see them doing well, to be honest. So I am keen on that, but I haven't as such started building them. I put a few levels into them. I think they're up to level 40. And that was mainly because their individual marquee events were just nightmarish to at the final tier
Yeah.
to try finish them. So I went, I'm going to build them.
Yeah.
So I may as well get them halfway. So that's kind of where I've got them at the moment. With the Gondor team, I don't think I focused on any other light team. Oh, I'm farming RTR
Yes.
in terms of
Yeah.
shards, and obviously Arwen and Eladon. So they're my farms, but I haven't put any extra levels or gears into them as such.
Fair
In
enough.
terms of
I
shadow,
like Red to Rivendell, to be honest. But,
yeah, they're a good team.
yeah.
They seem to be doing well in each of the chapters so far.
Mm,
Shadow wise, I'm still farming the two Haradrim characters and building Haradrim up. Um, Isengard, I found, weren't as good in chapter 3.
yeah.
But, they do well in the first two chapters, so it's still a good team to build. Um, I'm already committed, like I said, to Haradrim, so I'm just going to see them through. I haven't really started building any other shadow factions. Like Mordor look good. I just don't have the resources to go again for another team.
Yeah.
Same with, well, goblins. Yeah, I'm not going to build the goblins. And Misty Mountains. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm
They're too
curious about
slow.
them. They're too slow. I haven't obviously I don't have them built enough to know what they go in chapter 3, but just based on the speeds alone, I doubt they're useful at all in chapter 3 because that was the main issue with Isengard.
Yeah.
They were just super slow, not enough cleansers. Uglug's taunting, and he's just going to get captured pretty much immediately.
Mm.
It was a nightmare. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the only other team in terms of shadow wise, that I'm curious about is Dunland because I can see them being the next shadow team that
Yeah.
gets characters.
Probably.
Um, Seems to be the way they're going in terms of how they've been doing things. Yeah, so basically Haradrim, I'm kind of building, but I haven't really built too many of the others yet for Shadow. I'll keep an eye on Dunland. In terms of Edric, he's a guild character, so needs be
He'll
like
be
a
easy to
easy.
do.
It's really the other two
Yeah.
that I may start building on the side, but there's only so many characters I can farm in a day, and
Yeah.
I think I'll move on to them once I'm done with one of the other farms that I'm doing. Um, but yeah, that's me. What about you?
I have finally got the R1 node unlocked. So I've been farming her.
Yeah, that's a good feeling.
Yes. My Eladin is about to hit 6 stars, I believe, probably tomorrow. What else? I don't know if I want to continue building Isengard or not. I'm going to get them all to at least 5 stars, but I don't know if I should take them to 7 or if I should go back and try to get my others up a bit more. The ones that are lower, like Haradrim and stuff like that. What else? That's pretty much it. I've just been pretty much farmed a bunch of guild. RTR I put pause on at the moment because I wanted to get the R1 node unlocked, and so I was just spamming like refreshes on Isengard to get the stars up. My RTR are all 5 stars anyway, so it's really just ability levels at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, that and the last 2 stars. I find that's the case for most of my roster at the moment, though, is ability levels and stars.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that a lot of the teams, you need kind of high ability levels to see a big difference.
Yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, pretty much just farming, like with my guild campaign energy, just like the purple bottles. I'll probably get Naramiri to 7 star, considering she's like so good for chapter 3. She's at 5, so it won't take her long at all.
Yeah. Again, guild campaign character.
Yeah. What else? I don't have a dilemma. I've already invested a decent amount into what's his face? Onion. He's at 444 abilities, he's year 8, and he's 6 stars. Don't know if I should take getting him to 7 stars, but I don't know if I should take his abilities up or put them towards a Legolas. But my Legolas is only 3 stars. But he should be farmable soon.
Yeah, I mean, my situation was a bit different because mine's 5 stars. But the way I saw it, I'm still building, I'm still farming Lomian just because in case Elrond comes next month, I can get Lomian done to 7 and I've got my 5th. Whereas Legolas might take me a bit longer and I don't want to be locked out for a 7-star Elrond. So I'm farming him, but in terms of building, I'm building Legolas mainly because, he's going to be farmable soon. And in terms of damage outputs, seems like he does more. And he's part of a future team.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's like it's going to take me longer to get Legolas to 7 stars. So do I just bite the bullet and take Lomian up for the short term?
That's what I'm doing. I'm farming Lomian, but I'm gearing and ability wise, Legolas.
Yeah, the shards I'm getting for Lomian, of course. It's more just the ability levels, I guess.
Yeah, I did Legolas instead. But I mean, I think I've seen Lomian based teams
do pretty well,
do okay in chapter 2. I mean, I think if you can get if he's 7 stars and if you can get his abilities to levels 6, so he hits hard, you could probably be equal in damage, I would say.
I'm thinking
but obviously Legolas, once you get Legolas built up, he's gonna then start out damaging. But yours is
it's going to take a while for me to get to that
yours
point.
Yours is at 3.
Yeah. So I may as well just bite the bullet and take Lomian up, or his abilities. So But besides that, yeah, I put pause on my RTR because they were all 5 stars. I thought they were doing all right.
Hmm.
Isengard, yeah, I'm not sure if I want to continue them or not.
I mean, they're a good team. They've
Yeah, I feel
performed
like I
well in chapter
should.
1 and 2,
Yeah, I
and
feel like I
in some
should.
cases, in most cases, outperformed Haradrim. Uh,
Yeah.
but the speed obviously affects them in chapter 3,
Mm,
along with other things. But I worked around it, and got a decent score with them in chapter 3. I chucked Neuraz in with them,
mm,
um, and then I believe I threw in Eothane as well, just because my Rohan team, apart from him, isn't built as much.
yeah,
Because I built him mainly because of his arena use, getting that
yeah,
turn meter, but which comes in handy in chapter 3, getting that extra turn meter.
yeah.
So I used him with them. Neuraz is handy because he's got a pretty short cooldown on that cleanse.
Mm,
Um, and then he throws out a summon who also gets points for you, and a
yes.
summon that doesn't die with one hit like
Yeah.
Irma's. So
And he's got a stun, which is handy.
the summon has a stun, yes. Yeah. So I think there's workarounds for the Isengard, like I mentioned, for
Mm,
them to do okay in chapter 3.
yeah.
But as a team, as a 5-man team, not so much. But you can build them and then throw in a hybrid Isengard team just specifically for chapter 3.
Yeah.
And because I think in chapter 4, we'll have to see, but in chapter 4, I could see them doing well because they're very single target orientated.
Yeah.
Um, so I could see them doing well in chapter 4. So
Yeah. I could see it.
I don't
Unless
think
the
it's
boss has a specific mechanic of like can't land debuffs or something, which, oh god, that would be painful for a lot of teams.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would hamper them severely, but we don't know. So as it stands, I'd say they're still
Yeah.
a good way to go.
Yeah.
If you didn't go the Haradrim route.
Yeah. Haradrim, I don't know if I even want to build up any more than I already have. I just they're kind of just they're
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the Phoenix
squishy.
team.
That's the thing. They're just so squishy.
Like you mentioned, they're like the Phoenix team in Star Wars Galaxy of Hero, just early game team. They'll probably die off pretty quickly, in the long run.
Side note for Galaxy of Heroes, Phoenix is beating one of the best teams in the game at the moment.
Did they?
It's funny, but it won't last. It's just because of the Darkron. But it's very funny to see. Um, yeah, so I think I will take all my teams up to 5 stars. So the next one would be Rohan, because they're only at like 3 and 4. Except for AMR, he's like nearly 7, which is what you want. He's like the big hitter.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I built Rohan, and I can't. I look at them and I want to, but
Yeah. My
yeah,
way of thinking is like if I take them all to 5 and then I start taking them to 7, or should I just take 1 to 7, the next to 7, and then
hmm,
the next?
yeah.
So I feel like the 5, getting them all to 5 would probably be just a little bit better.
Hmm.
So yeah, besides that, it's just ability levels. I'm considering even doing like 4 or 5 refreshes for
Guild
guild
campaign.
campaign.
Yeah, yeah. Ability levels is tough,
Yeah,
and you run out on each kind of tier as well, which is frustrating because
yeah.
sometimes you run out of the blue mats and you're just like, ugh.
The blue mats, I've got a good what's the word?
Stock.
Stock, yeah. Of them, I've got I think like 1,300 or so, but
Mm.
I know it's not going to last. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Gondor, I think I'll probably build up Gondor, but when?
Yeah. Well, I'm keen on building them up. But as I said, I think their mechanics will do well based on what
Yeah,
we saw on that first run for chapter 3. I'm keen on them. So I'll probably, I think once we get the marquee in a couple of days
yeah.
from the
I
time of
think
this recording.
tomorrow.
I don't think it's that soon. I think it's just the weekend for us. But anyway, uh, I don't know if I'll get them built quickly enough for our
Mm,
second raid,
yeah,
but at least maybe yeah, plans of getting them at a decent level for our third attempt at chapter 3,
yeah.
maybe.
Oh,
Uh,
that's what I'm working on like right now is getting Naramiri up for chapter 3.
yeah, yeah.
I want that 2-turn ability for special.
Yeah, the 2-turn, sorry, the stamina, 2 staminas that she does
Yeah,
at level 6 instead of the one, plus
yeah,
her cleanse at a lower cooldown is also
yes.
very useful. Yeah, 2 very strong abilities for her. But in saying that, I did it without either of those abilities at level 6. The
Yeah, you
big
just got to get it on Eladin, which can take out many tries.
Yeah, but the thing is, even if you built those abilities to level 6, it's not going to guarantee you a
Mm,
900k run because you still need that
yeah,
particular thing.
it'll just make it a bit easier, I guess. Yeah.
It will make it a bit easier. So what I found was the first wave, you don't know who it's going to land on.
Mm,
I don't think I ever got it to land on Eladin. But you know you can taunt with him on the next run. Oh, and the other thing with um, Naramiri's second special is she gives out stamina, but she goes before Elrond. So if that stamina goes on Elrond, you start with his AoE slow.
oh, that's huge.
Because otherwise you start with his, generally speaking, his basic on that
Yeah,
first turn. But you can start with 2-turn AoE slow on the enemy on
far
the
out.
first turn if she feeds him. So there's certain things where she is useful in that sense for that
Mm,
fight. Um, yeah, as I was saying, you can taunt with Eladin, and then you're guaranteed to start getting the stacks of
yeah,
capture on him, and then you use. That's what I did, and then I used Arwen's second special to put the immunity on him once
yeah,
I know he's got the focus right.
yeah.
Um,
Another character that would be getting a lot of value if you pretty like build her to the max is Arwen.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she'd be very good. I remember the tier list that we did for her abilities, well, like for the whole Rivendell squad, and we ranked her passive fair, not low, but like not really too much reason to take it because there's just like there's only a 50% chance if
Hmm.
they have a debuff to cleanse it. I feel like that is so worth it now with chapter 3.
Yeah, well, um, I yeah, I think it might. I was considering that. I was looking at it while I was doing it. I'm like, I wonder if that 50% is actually going to be useful here. Like,
Yeah.
just that
I,
little difference that might end up helping you out.
yeah.
But definitely the extra turn meter that she gets from her first special
Yeah.
is useful. Her second special,
Yeah, starting with it on turn 1 is
starting with
huge
it
as
on
well.
who, yeah, like if Eladin did, for example, get the focus on that first wave, she
Yeah.
can get that immunity straight away. So
Yeah.
yeah, she's definitely critical for that team.
Mm,
I would say Arwen, Eladin, because you need someone to get the capture. mechanic. I'd say Arwen's probably the next most important on that team. And then I'd probably say still Elrond, just because of his passive heals and can revive if needed. The two-turn slow I mentioned.
Yeah.
But yeah, Naramiri provides that little bit extra for that team, as I said.
Yeah. I have a feeling that next month, spooky month, so possibly Witch King / Nazgul. What if the Dunland unlock the Witch King? Because there's 3 characters in the game, and that means they can release 2 marquees. And people don't have them built. So
but if they were gonna release, do you think they'll release Nazgul's or just the Witch King?
Both.
But then if they do that, that's 2 Dunlands people need to build up, plus 5 Nazgul's.
Yes. I believe it. I don't know how the logistics of it would work, but I just have a feeling that the Dunland would probably unlock Witch King. I definitely don't think it's going to be Haradrim anymore. That data mine is so old that people have been like prepared for it, and so it's like there's not really any money value there anymore.
Yeah, I could see Gondor.
Gondor, yeah, I could say that too, actually. Yeah,
I could see Gondor just because it's 5 that are already out, and if they're bringing out a new legendary with a whole new team, because that's 5 new characters just for that team.
Yeah,
it's just way too many characters. So, in terms of release, at least they can release the Nazguls, and that'll just be those 5. But in terms of unlock, it's still a relatively new team that's unlocking them.
Yeah.
Rather than having to release an additional 2 new characters as well.
Yeah. Another thought is, at least in the beta, the Nazguls seemed like a very strong PvP team, so they could release the Witch King along with the like GAC system. Maybe incentive to buy it. So, yeah, who knows at this point?
Who knows? We only had 3 Nazguls in the beta anyway.
I think so, yeah. But I mean, just the Witch King, his kit, like that turn 1 stun and the AoE heal block, like that is nuts.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll have to see. Every kind of beta character that's
has been changed,
been released, has been changed a lot. So who knows what they'll do with him? But I think
now he stuns your whole team.
Every ability stuns. But I think in terms of beta characters, they're the only ones left, I believe.
Yeah, the 3 Nazgul, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot which ones. It was the Southern Shadow, Blade of the East, and I forgot the last one. It's one of them.
Can't remember myself either.
Yeah. Need time machine to go back a few months.
Yeah, there was a list somewhere of the beta characters. I was just trying to quickly see if I could find it, but yeah. We didn't have a full team, that's for sure.
No, they didn't have, no.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I kind of hope it's not Gondor because I haven't spent money for Gondor, so and like it's the Nazguls. I want my Nazguls.
Yeah. All right. think that unless there was anything else you wanted to bring up.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, well, there's a few topics, but yeah, most of it was the um, Q&A with Nick Reinhardt, which we had a few days ago. So yeah, it was interesting listen to see his thoughts on the game. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed another episode of Outback Gamehouse Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle Earth. Feel free to leave any comments on where you want to what you want to hear in this podcast and stuff like that. We're open to suggestions and stuff like that. If you do like this podcast, do let us know as well. Also, if you don't like it, you can let us know as well. But otherwise, we will catch you guys next time.